Why was Ruth willing to leave her own family? I mean, you look at the story. Naomi and her husband and her 2 sons, they came from Judah because it was a famine. And they go into Moab, which is basically a foreign country with foreign gods and foreign language. And they're living there. And the husband dies, and his 2 sons take on wives, but they don't take on wives from Israel. They take on Moabite women. Why? When the sons die, why did the women stay? Why did the 2 daughter-in-laws stay with Naomi? I mean, when something happens, don't you want to return to your mom and dad? I mean, when something bad happens, we want to run to our parents. We want to feel the comfort that they give us. As you're growing up, when something great happens, what do? You call mom and dad, And when something bad happens, you call either mom or dad. Usually you call mom, and mom explains it to dad. We always call mom because mom always understands. Dad always pushes us to go further, But mom always understands. But why? Why did they even started out with her? Naomi's leaving and they're going with her. It just seems odd that they wouldn't have just, as soon as the sons, their husbands died, they wouldn't have gone back to their own family. And in fact, we see that Naomi is urging them, please, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in a second, but please, go back to your family. I will not have any more children. Go back, get married. And Orpah does, but Ruth doesn't just stay with her, she clings to her. And you got to ask why. What is it about Naomi? What is it about the relationship that she and Ruth has? What is it that draws Ruth to her? We kind of see some of this in the Scriptures. Because Naomi had something that Ruth didn't think she could do without. Ruth saw how Naomi handled herself and her family. And I think that's what drew her to her. And chances are, that's what originally drew her to Naomi's son. First, Naomi was a very good mother-in-law. She appreciated both of her daughter-in-laws. If we look in verse 8, it says, but Naomi said to her daughters-in-law, go, return each of you to your mother's house. May the Lord deal kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead and with me. She cared for her daughters-in-law. She wanted them to have a future. And she cared for them because they cared for her. And she saw how they were when her husband died and when their sons died. She cared deeply for them. And she shares what she wishes for them. In verse 9, the Lord grant that you may find rest, each of you, in the house of your husband. She wants them to go and get married again. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voices, and they wept. See, and they're weeping. This weeping shows that they had this bond of love with Naomi. This deep bond. Secondly, we can see it's very likely that Naomi was a good wife to Elimelech. She set an example of what a wife was and what a wife should be to her husband. Go to Proverbs 31. If you've been listening to the radio or hearing things this week, I can tell you everybody's been talking about Proverbs 31. We're going to start in verse 10. It says, an excellent wife who can find. She is far more precious than jewels. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. Now, think about this. It's not just that he trusts her. It's not just that he thinks he can trust her. It's that his heart, in his heart, he knows he can trust her. And he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not harm all the days of her life. Now, you guys, you young guys in here who aren't married yet, this is the kind of woman you need to look for. I'm telling you. It's who you need to look for. She does him good and not harm all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and works with willing hands. She is like the ships of the merchant. She brings her food from afar. She takes care of her family. She rises while it was yet night and provides food for her household and portions for her maidens.